Hello, baseball fans, collectors, and investors. Welcome back to Iconic Baseball. I am Iconic Al, and today's episode, number 93 on the Top 100 Countdown, features, for the first time, a pitcher. This was a player who was overshadowed by the greatness of the rotation around him. He was quietly one of the great pitchers of his era, and one of the last to win 300 games. He won 2 Cy Young Awards, was a World Series MVP, and he was drafted to play hockey in 1984 before he was eventually drafted to play baseball. So, an exceptional athlete, in addition to being one of the great pitchers of all time. I'm talking about Mr. Tom Glavine.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jack. I don't care if I never get back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Let's talk about Tom Glavine. If this card looks somewhat odd to you, you have a keen eye. This is one of my favorite cards, one of my favorite era cards of all time. This is the 1990 Donruss MVP, John Smoltz, that pictures Tom Glavine. Somebody at the Donruss company managed to screw up 2 future Hall of Famers, and they pictured Tom Glavine on a John Smoltz card, which is pretty hilarious, especially because they would both go on to become Hall of Famers. And I think that makes it a pretty special card. Now, some of you may correct me here, but it's the only card that I know of that ends up mixing up 2 future Hall of Famers. Please comment and let me know if I'm wrong on that. But if you have any other examples of era cards that mix up 2 future Hall of Famers, let me know. But that's why I think this one's pretty special. Well, let's talk about Tom Glavine. He was a 300-game winner and will be one of the last to win 300 games. Randy Johnson won 300 games after he did. But I believe that they will be the last 2 men to win 300 games in Major League Baseball because the current game it doesn't lend itself to make that possible anymore. He pitched to contact. He was not a strikeout pitcher. He lived on the corners. He was a control guy. He didn't throw hard, which is a lost art in today's game. The reason his ERA was a little higher and his whip was a little higher than you'd like in some years was because of just that. He pitched to contact. He had a 3.54 ERA and a 1.314 whip. By today's standards, doesn't seem elite. However, the results are the results. 300-game winner, World Series MVP. And the thing that I like about Tom Glavine is he shined in the postseason. He was at his best when it mattered. In his 218 postseason innings, which, by the way, that's an entire season worth of innings that he pitched in the postseason. He was in the postseason almost every year. He posted a 3.30 ERA, much better than his career ERA. That's saying something. You're facing the toughest competition in the postseason, and somehow his ERA is better. Lower whip of a 1.273 in the postseason. And then if you even take it a step farther, 58 World Series innings, which again, you're playing against the greatest team in the opposing league. He had a 2.16 ERA in the World Series and a sub-1 whip, a .909 whip in the World Series. So that, for me, earns him quite a bit of extra points. Now, just because this card affords us the opportunity, let's also just talk a little bit about John Smoltz, because Glavine with his 80 WAR, for me, ranks higher than John Smoltz, and John Smoltz doesn't technically make it onto the top 100, but he's close. He's in the conversation. So let's talk a little bit about John Smoltz. He was the polar opposite, a strikeout pitcher, dominant, 3,000 strikeout pitcher, a 69 WAR, which again qualifies him for the Hall of Fame, and he was elected readily. A Cy Young Award winner, 213 career wins, And oh, by the way, 154 career saves. He morphed himself into a dominant closer for a number of years. He saved 55 games in 2002. So his numbers speak for themselves. John Smoltz, a worthy Hall of Famer in his own right. And the thing I like about this card is it allows us to talk about both pitchers on their own merit, and they're combined on this card miraculously by some odd mistake of the Donruss Company. So thank you, Donruss Company, for allowing us to collect two Hall of Famers on one card. Really appreciate it. In this era of cards, which we know as junk wax, it is very hard to find scarcity. So you have to get creative. If I were to go out and buy a 1988 Topps Tom Glavine rookie card, they're abundant. PSA has graded over 4,000 of them, and over 1,000 of them have achieved 10s. So the market is extremely watered down with Tom Glavine and John Smoltz rookie cards. So that really didn't interest me. So this card really offers an opportunity to get something much more scarce, a corrected error, an error card that I'm not sure how many they actually let leave the factory like this with the wrong picture on the card. But PSA has only graded 247 of these cards. And only 72 have been graded a 9, like this one. And only 12 have achieved a 10. So this offers an interesting value in my mind. I think I paid $40 for this card with shipping and tax to get a card that there's only 12 graded higher and only 70 in this grade. And it's just a pretty cool thing to have an epic mix-up of players, Hall of Fame players, on a card like that. John Smoltz with John Smoltz stats. John Smoltz's name on the back. And a beautiful beaming smile out of Tom Glavine on the front. I love it. So give it a look. I mean, it's generally priced about the same as you would pay for a PSA 10 Glavine rookie card, of which there are thousands out on the market. This thing is pretty darn scarce for junk wax. Now, one other thing I wanted to say on this video, since Tom Glavine is the lowest ranked pitcher on my top 100, he's on the bubble. So there are players in the game right now that in 2, 3, 4 years may threaten Tom Glavine's spot on this list. And so I just wanted to give the iconic baseball community a heads up of the pitchers that could slide into number 93 on the top 100 countdown at some point, because this list is a living, breathing, morphing list. And I will make updates and edits to this list as time goes. And full disclosure, there are current pitchers higher than Tom Glavine that are currently pitching in the game today. And I'll spoil you here by saying they are Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, and Justin Verlander. The guys that could conceivably threaten Tom Glavine on this list at some point are probably not a surprise. They are none other than Zack Greinke, who is probably at the tail end of his career, and we'll see if he has a last act to his career that could give him the bump he needs to catch up to where Tom Glavine is. And Jacob deGrom, who has two Cy Young Awards already. Should he win a third or a fourth, or put in another 2 or 3 very dominant Jacob deGrom type seasons, could find himself above Tom Glavine and in number 93, bumping Tom Glavine off the list. So these are two guys to watch, because the next 2, 3 seasons are going to be very critical as to whether Zack Greinke or Jacob deGrom can climb into the top 100, iconic top 100. As of now, they are not there. I don't think they have enough where you can say Jacob deGrom has a better career so far than Tom Glavine. I don't think you can say it. Similarly with Jack Greinke, you can't say it. They just don't have the WAR. They don't have the numbers, the status as of yet. But they could. So stay tuned. I will let you know if and when that happens. Until next time, I encourage you to follow the channel, like, subscribe, all those things. That all helps. And keep collecting and stay iconic.